What's up, guys, and welcome back to another episode of Car Mechanic Simulator 2018. This is episode 21 now on the series. If you guys are enjoying the series, be sure to drop a like on this video, leave me a comment, and subscribe if you haven't already. So the footage you guys are seeing here is me basically going to the auction house and just seeing what I can find. Now, I bought not only one, but two Lamborghinis for this episode, and we're gonna keep things pretty simple. I ended up overpaying for both of them, I believe, if I remember correctly. Like I said, we're gonna try to keep it as simple as possible. So starting off here, we have a Lamborghini Huracan, which is super cool, and then we also have a Lamborghini Murcielago. Now, the Murcielago, I believe, has sort of a Liberty Walk-esque body kit going on for it, whereas the Huracan is just bone stock, pretty much, as far as the body goes. This has a V10, and I believe the Murcielago has a V12, so we're going to be able to sort of experiment with two different engines. Now, with that being said, I'm not going to be deconstructing these cars very much. To start things off here, I think we'll start over with the Huracan. So we're going to be taking all four wheels off of the Huracan to start, and hopefully we'll be able to just demount these tires, repair the rims, and then we'll put some new tires on it. These are not terrible, I don't believe. Let me check the car status here and see if we can't find the tires. So right here it says sport tire. It's at 68%. That's just one of them. Up above is a 67%. So like I said, the tires aren't terrible. However, I think it is important to have good contact with the ground, especially when we're driving around some Lambos. That's probably pretty important. Surprisingly, they only have sport tires. I figured they'd have at least race tires on the Murcielago over there, but we're gonna go ahead and take off this last wheel. And then as far as what we're gonna be doing to this thing mechanically, so I have a couple of plans, and yes, we are going to be tackling both cars in one episode. I know it's gonna be a twofer, but hopefully you guys do enjoy. So let's take the brake system off of here. We're gonna be removing the old existing brake system and replacing it with all new components. And the reason that we're gonna do that is it doesn't really make sense to have a fast car and have terrible brakes. So these brakes tested surprisingly well, considering they look very rusty. But I took both of these vehicles on the test path once already, and as far as suspension goes, really it's not too terrible. I think as long as we get some good tires on here, get some nice brakes set up, we should have some decent cars. So now that we have the brakes torn off of this thing, we're gonna go ahead and mount up a new system all the way around. I've already purchased front and rear brakes for both of these cars. Alright, so this is the last caliper here on the rear. We got the front done already, and that's going to allow us to mount the new wheels. So we have to head over to our tire changer right here, and we're going to separate each tire, and we'll be replacing it with a new one, but we're going to take each rim over to the repair bench, and hopefully we can get these things sorted out. Okay, now that the tires are dismounted, whatever you want to say there, we're going to come through and try to repair them. Hopefully we can. That would save quite a bit of money here for us. And it looks like we were successful on at least two of them. There we go. Alright, let's take a look here, see what we're working with. So here we go. Rim avalanche 1, 2, 3, and 4 are all at 100% now. So we can come back over to our tire changer here and mount up some new tires. I've already bought the tires in the exact size they were before. I figure that's probably the best way to do things here. So we're gonna get these all mounted up and balanced, and I'll see you guys here in a sec. Alright, got the last one going on the balancer now. This video is probably going to be a little bit more chopped up than normal, and I apologize if I'm not as enthusiastic as I normally am. My fiance and I are actually coming down with some sickness, and not in a good way. She is way worse off than I am. I just kind of have a sore throat. No headaches so far, so things are looking up, but I'm going to do my best here to try to get an episode out for you guys today. And let's get these mounted up here. Got a 305, 30, 20 going in the rear. And then in the front, I believe it's a 245. There we go, 245, 30, 20. So decently thin sidewall on these. It's nothing like the Huracan. I think the Huracan has like a 20. You can see it's very, very thin. But we are going to get this last one mounted up here. And then we will take a look at this V10 that is going to be powering this thing. So basic performance mods I want to do for this car. You guys can see from the car status here, the global parts condition is at 66%. So a lot of the components underneath the car are doing poorly, I would say. However, what I think would be a smarter idea, rather than taking both of the engines out of these cars, taking them over to the engine stand and completely rebuilding them, I think what we're going to attempt to do is basically remove stuff that we can get from the performance shop and just sort of upgrade it as we go along here. So starting off with the fuel filter, obviously we know we can get an upgraded one of those. Since we're doing the brake system, I do think it is important to upgrade the ABS module and pump. So we're going to be removing the ABS module and replacing both it and the pump with brand new components from the store here. And we can start with the pump, get that one installed 100%, and the ABS module also 100%, and get those mounted back up right there. All right, so those kind of intersect a hose from the intake manifold, which is strange, but I'm not gonna pay too close attention to that. I think it'll be all right. Moving on, we have obviously ignition coils we can pop out. Since it is a V10, there are going to be 5 on either side. So we'll go ahead and take out all of these, and we will get some red tops from the performance shop, as well as some upgraded NGK spark plugs. You don't want that Champion crap, dude. Just don't buy Champion spark plugs. It's a bad idea. I don't care what make model you have, just don't do it. And last spark plug, there we go. All right, let's head into the store here and see what we can get for this thing. We're gonna go down to the performance shop. If we just type spark here, we're gonna go ahead and buy 10. I almost said 5. We're gonna buy 10 of those. And then ignition coils, we're going to buy 10 of these, the red tops. And there we go. So we will work our way around here and get each one of these installed. I do have to buy a fuel filter too. I almost forgot about that. That's one side done. Let's go ahead and grab ourselves a fuel filter from the performance shop here. And you know what? We might as well get a fuel pump. We're going to need one anyways. Now with that being said, since we are upgrading the fuel filter, I think it's probably in our best interest to upgrade the fuel rails as well. And those pop out pretty easily. There's no hardware required to do that. And let's go to the store here, see if we can't get the V10, just V10, not V10A. There we go. We'll grab 2 of these. That'll help a ton. We're gonna see about a 2% increase in performance there with the addition of these fuel rails. So that should help out. Work our way over here, and we can get the other side, spark plugs and ignition coils, installed. All right, so on this side, we have a W12 V10 throttle body, and we have another over here. Now, the only problem with this is I'm not sure what we have to remove to install it. It looks like, honestly, just an air filter cover, so that's not terrible at all. And we can remove both of the throttle bodies here. It's got one for each 5 cylinders, or one for each head, I guess. There we go. Hop into our store here quick, and we'll buy 2 of these W12 V10 throttle bodies. There we go. Get our new one mounted up here. It's going to have those nice red accents. That's how you can tell that it is a performance version. And we'll get the other side mocked up here. Just 4 bolts around the outside, and we can get the V10 air cover put back on there. Air filter cover, my bad. I think now that we've upgraded the fuel, we should probably upgrade the intake system as well. I don't believe there's an upgraded V10 intake manifold in the performance shop, but we can definitely take a look. Actually, there is, with a plus 2% increase in horsepower, or I guess in performance. It doesn't say horsepower necessarily, but I think that should work. So it looks like it's just polished pretty much. Oh man, we should have done that. Dang it, we should have done that before the throttle bodies. Well, I'll go ahead and remove these on both sides, and we'll upgrade the air filters as well while we're here and get these throttle bodies taken off. God, what an amateur move. I guess that's what we get for skipping around. So we're gonna need 2 V10 air filters. Hop in the store here and see if they have those. There we go, 2 upgraded air filters. Plop those down in the air filter base on either side here. Those only have a 1.5% power increase. We're going to remove the old intake manifold here. Dude, such a rookie mistake. I mean, we're kind of jumping around here, not exactly removing things in the correct order and upgrading them accordingly, but I think we're gonna make some decent power here. All I really care is getting it upgraded enough to put down more power than it has currently. I didn't show that, I don't believe, but I'll check the car status here after I get the intake manifold put on, and it's pretty low. It's pretty low for a V10 car. It's 372 horsepower. Now that's I've pre-dynoed them, so that's taking into account all of the not so great parts that were on it from when we bought it from the auction. So already we're seeing a pretty decent increase in value of the car, and there we go. All right, and we also had to remove the fuel rails, so we're gonna have to reinstall those. Just 2 clicks, super easy. Okay, now with that done, we're gonna move over to the exhaust manifold for the V10. Now this is a huge piece in gaining performance here. So let's check. These aren't gonna give us a huge increase. We'll have a total of a 2% increase in power just from removing these old ones and installing the upgraded ones. So we'll go ahead and take these off. Wow, that's a lot of bolts. That's more bolts than any other exhaust manifold we've ever removed. But you know what, makes sense. It's a V10, it's a Porsche engine. They like to get complicated. And that's worth noting as well. A lot of you probably don't realize that, but Lamborghini is owned by Volkswagen, and Volkswagen also owns Porsche. So that's kind of, it makes sense that the Porsche engine would be in a Lamborghini, but I don't believe they would have had it being branded Porsche. You guys can see from the intake manifold up here, it does say Porsche across the top. I have a feeling they would have probably changed that or made their own specific parts for the Lamborghinis with the V10 inside of it. So just a little side note there. Got the upgraded one, nice and polished up. Man, that looks good. Definitely looks better than that old rusty one they had on it before. Something else I think is worth noting on this car, the fuel tank is in fact inside of the engine. I don't know if you guys can really see that very well, but it's pretty obvious to me. How would we go about upgrading the fuel pump? Because we can't even see it due to the block being completely in the way. So I feel like we're gonna have to leave that. I don't know who created this mod in particular, but that is all right. We can work with what we got here. Okay, so we upgraded our intake system, we upgraded our exhaust system, fuel system as best we could, and the ignition system. So I think we should probably work our way up to the front of the car, and we're gonna have to remove this battery, replace it with a new one. No sense having a 71% battery. Grab ourselves a new battery from the store, and why did I do that? I just found out that we have a battery charger literally a couple feet away from me right here, and we can take our batteries and we can charge them. It's the best thing ever. And once they're done, I believe, yeah, there we go. I really need to utilize that feature a lot more. Under the hood of this car, there is of course nothing because it is a rear engine, or what do they call that? Mid-engine, which doesn't make sense to me, but it is a mid-engine vehicle. All right, switching back to assembly mode here, I want to check the car status. So the car value's now at $105,000, which I believe is a $20,000 increase. But what I'm really curious about is to see if we gained anything in power or performance, I guess. So let's go ahead and move this over to the dyno, run a couple of tests on it, and we'll see if just by doing a couple of simple bolt-ons, we increase the horsepower from 372, was it? 372, we're gonna try to hit at least 400. with just the simple bolt-ons that we did. Now, factory horsepower, this thing's super whiny too, so I'm gonna have to sort of talk over it a little bit. But factory horsepower was 588, so it'll be interesting to see what we do. Honestly, not terrible. I figured we would have been able to make a little bit more power than that, but I'll take 532. That sounds pretty nice. All right, so let's remove this off of the dyno here. We'll send it out to garage entrance A. And let me get my controller out here. We'll take it around the racetrack once. Actually, you know what? We're going to the drag strip, baby. I want to see how fast this thing can go in a straight line. All right, boys, here we are at the drag strip. Let's rev this thing up. God, this thing has a terrible sound to it. It sounds like an electric bicycle. That's really bad. But anyways, here we go. All right, it is very squirrely. Obviously, we should have upgraded the suspension. I'm just gonna restart here. God, the sound is worse from inside the car. So I'm gonna try not to turn really at all. I'll be way more gentle. There we go. As soon as you start turning with this thing, just because the suspension isn't the best, it just kind of goes all over the place. So we're up to 149, 150, 160. Looking pretty good so far. 170 now. And across the line at 176. That's pretty good. 0 to 30 was 1.2 seconds. 0 to 60 is 3. 0 to 100, 7.4. And 0 to 200, unfortunately, we didn't make it there. But we are going to see a pretty decent profit increase from this car. So I think we bought it for around 80,000 some odd dollars. It'll be on the screen right now. And now the car value's at 106, and we got just about a $4,000 restoration bonus. So we're gonna go ahead and sell this now. Our Lamborghini Huracan for $110,000. And there we go. Now we are up to 169,000. You guys remember from the previous episode, we ended up with about 400, and I think it was $412,000. So really quick, I'm gonna empty out my inventory here of all of the stuff that we're not going to need. Actually, I can do this a lot simpler and just sort this by anything under 99. There we go. All right, so now we have a new battery for the Murcielago, and we also have tires for the Murcielago as well as brakes. So with that being said, I'm gonna go ahead and start unbolting these rims off of here. We'll take them over to the tire machine, get some new tires put on them, try to repair the rims as best we can. And I'll see you guys after I'm finished with that. And look at that. It is looking way better now. So I very much overpaid for this car. I have high hopes that we can at least break even on it. I think I paid $269,000 for it, which is just stupid. How are you going to pass up the opportunity to get 2 Lambos in a single video? You just don't. Once again, this is a V12 instead of the V10 that we saw in the Huracan. All right, so V12 typed in here. I know we have 2 of these, one on either side, so it's a twin turbo V12. There is, whoops, there's the fuel rail. Gonna need that. Intake manifold, it looks like that's the one that's on here, so we'll just go ahead and get that. Intercooler set, I'm sure that's on this vehicle as well. Now, we could do heads, but I don't think we're going to do that. We could also do cams, but I don't think we're gonna do that. Let's get what we have mocked up here. We'll go ahead and remove the fuel rail and remove the intake manifold cover. It's literally just like a decorative cover that they put on there. No real reason to have that on the car. And let's see, intercooler cover A will take off, intercooler cover B will take off, and we should be able to remove the intercooler set now. That's going to allow us access to the throttle body as well as the intake manifold. There we go. So throttle V12B. Let's grab one of those before we forget here. Now we can unbolt the old one. Actually, we didn't even have to unbolt it. There's just no bolts there. That's always nice. And 4 bolts on the intake manifold. Genius. And now we should be able to get the upgraded one, which again, just it polishes it up, makes it look a little bit nicer, but we should see pretty decent power increase from the addition of that. Now, with that out of the way, let's go ahead and get a new brake server. Jesus Christ, new brake servo, a new ABS module and pump, as well as a fuel filter. I didn't even look to see if the Huracan had a brake servo. I would assume it did, but that is something we probably should have upgraded. There we go, and we'll get the ABS module bolted up here. Looking good. Okay, so with that done, we can install the fuel rail, the V12. That's going to give us a plus 3% in power gains right there, which should be pretty nice. We'll get our little decorative cover put back on there, and we can get our V12B. Again, no hardware. It literally just plops on there. And let's see, we should probably do the exhaust before. I would think there's probably a V-band clamp there or something. That's not going to let us install the intercooler setup. And it doesn't look like this vehicle has an air filter, so doing the intercooler should be plenty. And we have tons and tons and tons of spark plugs. It looks like on this engine configuration, they actually do 2 spark plugs per cylinder, which is interesting. We're going for the upgraded spark plugs, of course, and we'll work our way around here and get each one of these installed. Got all 24 spark plugs put in, got a coil pack on that side. Let's get the other side over there. And once again, guys, I do want to apologize. Obviously, I'm not being super enthusiastic in this episode. Had I known I was going to get sick, I would have pre-recorded at least 2 episodes just to sort of cover me for 2 days. Nonetheless, we're going to get our other turbo exhaust manifold put in over here. It's kind of cool that the turbo is already pre-mounted to the manifold. Saves a little bit of time. We can get our intercooler set put right there. And, oh, okay, so the bolts actually go through the throttle body into the intake manifold through the coupler or mounting point for the intercooler. That's kind of cool, actually. That makes a little bit more sense now. We can get the intercooler cover put back on either side. Looking good. Okay, I think that's about all we can do for the performance side of this car. Let's move this thing over to the dyno, and we'll see if we made any more horsepower than it had previously. So if you guys remember, this car, actually I don't think I talked about this. This one only has 441 horsepower. Now that's not the stock horsepower. That's taking into account all of the old, crusty, gross parts that were on the car after we bought it from the auction. So from the factory, it should theoretically have 659. So we're gonna see if we either increased up to the factory engine power or we're still under that like we were in the Huracan. Curve looks all right. We did see a slight increase, about a 2% increase in power, putting us at 674 and 693 foot-pounds of torque. I'll take it, dude. As long as we made something. I think those exhaust manifolds with the turbos definitely helped out a ton. So let's move this over to garage entrance A, and we'll take it out to the test track again and see what this thing can do. All right, you guys, here we are back at the speed track or the drag strip. This car better hit 200 miles an hour. There's no reason it shouldn't, other than the suspension obviously is kind of wonky. Yep. Oh, man. Okay, restarting. This is just something you have to do with Lamborghinis, you guys. You'd understand if you had one, trust me. Here we go, off the launch. We're not gonna turn at all, just like we did in the Huracan. Very, very lightly. There we go. We're kind of in the line still. I'll count it. I just hope we can hit 200 miles an hour. Does it have 7 gears? Is it a 7-speed? It does. Okay. There might even be an 8th, too. I really don't know. Oh, dude, we just hit it. We just hit 200 miles an hour. And the counter's still going because we crossed the line as it happened, but 0 to 30 in 1.1 seconds, 0 to 60, 2.3, 0 to 100, 4.8, and 0 to 200. I don't know, I probably should have looked at that. I'll get a screen grab if I really care enough. But that's pretty cool. This thing performed just as I thought it would. I'm super pumped that we could hit 200 miles an hour. That kind of seems to be sort of the goal we shoot for in these episodes. So now that we've seen how fast this thing can go, we've improved it as much as we can, or as much as we really care to improve it. But with 674 horsepower, man, someone's gonna love this thing. Car value $229 with an $8,500 restoration bonus. So we're gonna sell it for $237,000. Again, I think we're losing about 30 grand on this one, but it should put us up to around 400,000. So once again, I do want to apologize. I know I'm not super enthusiastic in this one, but I do hope you guys enjoyed. If you did, please leave a like, leave a comment, help support the dream by smashing that subscribe button, and I will see you guys when I'm not seriously ill anymore. Thanks so much for watching, guys. Peace.